Hey, Michael from Black Snow Comics here. Today I want to talk to you a little about how to not hate what you've drawn, how to not hate your art. I'm going to generalize a little bit here, but by and large, a lot of the artists that I've gotten to know and from personal experience, they get down on themselves a lot, tend to focus on criticisms, tend to focus on negative reviews. We're usually our own worst critic. For me, it took a long time before I even felt comfortable referring to myself as an artist. I would kind of shy away from it. If I heard other people say it, it embarrassed me a little bit. And I guess some of it's just not having a ton of self-confidence. I think artists a lot of times can be a little more introverted, and this is a way of expressing yourself through your art and kind of releasing some of your feelings or whatever. So I think that might be why we see a little more of that with artists. For years, I did not like to look back at my own stuff. If it was something that was more than, say, 2 weeks old, I really didn't like seeing it because I thought it was just not very good. So there was kind of a little honeymoon period where I finished something like, yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. And then when that honeymoon period went away, I was like, oh, this is crap. I'm embarrassed by it. I wish I could go back and redraw it. That was always one of my things, is like, I wish I could just redo it. I wish I could redo it. Like, if you followed my comic books, you know, eventually we did a reboot where we did one big graphic novel after we had done 6 individual comic books. A big part of that was because I didn't like what I had drawn and I thought I could do it better and I wanted to try again. And while I love my graphic novel that I drew, part of me looks at it and says, oh, I wish I could do that again. I wish I could reboot it one more time because I bet I could do it better this time. And while these are natural tendencies, they're not helpful tendencies. If you're sitting there constantly redoing the same thing, you're not really moving forward. You need to be able to separate what you've already done from what you will do and not have all this regret towards your previous work. And it's not always the easiest thing. One thing I'm doing right now, I'm 72 days into this 365-day challenge where I'm drawing something new every day this year. And one of the beautiful things about it is I draw something and it's done and I move on. So most of the stuff I've drawn I really like. There's been a few things that I think were kind of duds, didn't really turn out the way I wanted. But you know what? That's all right, because whatever I draw tomorrow, I can make it my best. So having that mentality overall, I think, is very helpful. And even if there are things you don't like I mentioned, those initial comic books I did for Black Snow, there's a lot of stuff I don't love about them, but I did collect them into a book that I released several years ago, and every once in a while I go back and read that book. And even though there's a lot of stuff where I could like cringe and say, oh, this is wrong, this was done so poorly or whatever, I don't really do that anymore. I look at it and I say, this is pretty good here. You could see that I had a good understanding of something here, or the line work or the shading's particularly good here. I focus on the things that I thought were done well, and particularly in that kind of case, since it's sequential art and it was done over a number of years, I like to look at it and say, I could really see myself improving over this time. From the very first panel to the last panel of this collection, there's a big difference in what I was able to do and my techniques involved. So I think that is kind of the mentality you have to take. You have to look at what you've done and try to look at the positive. And believe me, I am not the most positive person. For a long time I was kind of a notoriously negative person. And if you read my my webcomic Optimistically Cynical, you'll see I play with that a lot, where I have one character who's the eternal optimist and one who's the eternal pessimist, and I can relate to both, usually more on the pessimistic side, but I do my best to try to have a glass half full attitude, and it becomes particularly helpful in the case of my art. And one of the things I'd recommend, which is something that's kind of related to what I was just talking about with this drawing every day, is draw a lot of art, because even if you finish something, it didn't come out the way you had pictured in your head, you're not happy with the result, you can move on. If you're drawing one thing and you're spending forever on it, and then you finish it, you hate it, and then you just kind of dwell on it a long time, it's going to paralyze you. It's going to keep you from moving on to the next thing. I found this old sketchbook in a drawer, and this has some pretty old stuff in it. Like, I don't even know how many years ago I was sketching like a little, I don't know, graveyard scene. And I used to do stuff like that a lot, as like a kid or a teenager or whatever. So you can see, looking at it here, it's not great, but it's a sketchbook. So I would say having a sketchbook approach is a good idea too. Draw some stuff that's for yourself. I don't want to sit here looking through my stuff and show you like my bad art. It's not a great way to show how to love your art, but I mean, I could look at it and say like, oh, that's kind of interesting. This is kind of a cool idea I had. This isn't so bad. I could see where I was improving. So don't question yourself constantly. Just pick something and do it. That was another thing that always tripped me up, is like, what am I gonna draw? What am I gonna draw? It has to look good. Think about it a lot, and then I wouldn't be able to just do it, because I would just be in my head. I got to get something that be able to show someone. Don't even draw it to show anyone for a while. Draw it to look at it yourself. And that's going to help you not only learn to like what you're drawing, because you're drawing things that you like, but it's also going to help you improve as an artist. When you don't have that hesitation, it's noticeable. The confidence comes through in your work, especially in your line work. I remember once I had a particularly bad review of one of our comics and some of my artwork, and after I read it, I was kind of devastated, and then I went to go draw something digitally, and every time I put a line, push Control Z, line Control Z, line Control Z. I couldn't put down any line I was happy with. I was just doing it over and over and over again. It'd take me forever to get to anything that I wanted to keep moving forward with. And once I got the line, time for the next one, same thing. And it took me forever to finish anything. That's not a good way to be. So that's why it's important to start liking what you do. And if you already like what you do, congratulations, you're already there. You don't need this video. We've been watching for this whole time. But if you're not there, just take some of this advice and maybe you'll get there. It's not always easy. It doesn't always come quick. Like I said, this was a problem for me for years. So, but now I'm happy to say I'm pretty well over it. And I'm at a place where I draw things and I think that's pretty cool. I would like to hang that on my wall. So, and if you'd like to hang it on your wall, chances are someone else would too. So keep up your work and try to stay positive. I know it's not easy, and I'll catch you later.